at the Ontario Flag of Excellence. Brian, if you could go to the next slide.
Perfect.
So I just want to give you a bit of a flavor about the Ontario Centres of Excellence. So we are a not-for-profit funding agency. We receive our funding from the Ministry of Research and Innovation for specific programs that will help develop Ontario's economy, help create jobs, and help to translate technologies from the university to assist companies or to form companies as well. We help. Our funds go on to help small startups through to large corporations. We also have streams that help with students receive on-the-job training through our Talent Edge program, which I will describe further. Can I go ahead to the next slide, please? As I mentioned, we have our programs are split up into primarily 3 different pillars. The first of which is research and collaboration. That is through Industry of our Vouchers for Innovation and Productivity, or VIP. That helps translate new discoveries at the university into industrial corporations to help them solve challenges, problems, be more competitive, things of that nature. We also have internships and fellowships that can help through R&D collaborations with universities or place them directly into the industry to allow them to utilize their expertise to help the industry partner solve problems, and also to mentor them and give them exposure to industrial endeavors. We also have a stream that's referred to as our commercialization stream, which is our Smart Start Seed Funds and also our Market Readiness and Investment Fund. I'll say at this point that all of our funds, except for the Market Readiness, are grants. Our Market Readiness program is an investment. I won't be discussing that today, but I'd be happy to discuss that at a later time or maybe in the Q&A. We also have entrepreneurship activities where we're working with our Campus Link Accelerator program, or CLAs, as some of you may know. I have additional programs for education, outreach activities through our different social enterprises, which I'll get into discussion later. Next slide, please, Brian.
Perfect.
So to start off with, I'd like to describe our Smart Start Seed Fund. These are really focused on companies that have already started up. They're either youth-led or not, and as you see that the age cutoff is 29 for our youth-led, and we do have a non-youth-led at 30 years old and older. Focused on those companies that have incorporated, are less than 3 years old, and they are working with a Campus Link Accelerator or a regional innovation center. For those of you who are not familiar with the CLAs, each one of the universities in Ontario has at least one Campus Link Accelerator associated on its campus, and this is to help young entrepreneurs obtain the training that they need to form companies, to develop new ideas that they have into viable commercial entities. You may have heard of the DMZ at Ryerson. This is a Campus Link Accelerator. We also have regional innovation centers such as Mars Discovery District or Venture Labs or Communitech. And these are separate advisory organizations that you can apply to and be accepted into, whether you've been associated with a university or not, for that, for the development of your ideas. So all 3 of these streams do require an interaction with either a CLA or a RIC. And you need to be working with them for at least 4 months to be accepted, to be considered as a potential applicant for the Smart Start Seed Fund. So in the youth-led stream, what we will provide is $30,000 funding, and this is a 1-to-1 cash match from your from the company, the non-government sources, so really come from friends, family, or wherever. And as I mentioned, it requires an endorsement with a campus accelerator or RIC. The company does need to be incorporated, and ideally you have a functioning prototype that you're looking to further develop and get that first customer secured. Our youth-led stream, which is a $60,000 match, in this case is similar to the 30K. However, 50% of that match must come from a third-party investor or sales. And that could be one investor that's at the angel stage, but it does need to come from that third-party entity rather than friends and family. In the case of the non-youth-led 30K, all of the funds need to come from a non-government source at the time of the award, and that's when all of our funds need to be matched. Is through is at the time of award. You then need to prove that you have the funding available for the match. As far as the details of this, each of these funds is initiated by the company or the applicant. It needs to be at least 1 week before the deadline. Next deadline is in October. And also you will need to provide additional letters of support for this at that time. Next slide, please, Brian.
Perfect. So
as I touched on briefly, the regional innovation centers, or CLAs, in both cases, they are established to help provide business-related guidance, advisory services. They're all, as I mentioned, all Smart Start proposals must be endorsed by a RIC or a CLA. And examples of those are the Mars Discovery District, that's or Spark Center, Venture Labs, which is out in Waterloo, or Venture Labs are up in Markham, and then there's Communitech out in Waterloo. So there's a number of them around. There's the Forge is in Hamilton. So you'll find them spread across the province, as well as there's CLAs if you're associated with the universities, such as the Digital Media Zone at Ryerson. And I will also say that they've started to accept companies from outside of Ryerson as well. So that if it's an appropriate technology that you're developing for them to give you assistance on, then it'd be worthwhile looking at them. I have the next slide, please, Brian. Moving on to our Talent Edge program. What this is intended to is to provide master's and PhD students, or recent graduates with a master's or a PhD, the opportunity to work with companies, and it's a cost offset program. Now, and where essentially we offset 50% of the cost of the time that the intern or the fellow is working with the industry partner. This can either be, in the case of both the internship and fellowship program, they can be university-based, or they can be industry-based, but there does have to be that collaboration in both cases. The internship at the master's level is either a 4 or an 8-month program. What we often will find is we find students who, in those programs, may identify a company they want to work with, and they have this in their back pocket saying, and oh, by the way, if you apply for this program, we'll offset the cost of that person coming on board. So using that as an example, in a 4-month block, the company contributes $5,000 and $5,000 in kind, and we will provide $10,000 cash in addition to that. And that can be up to 8 months, so 2 4-month blocks. This also can be very beneficial to startup companies where they're looking to spread out their dollars but need additional hands on deck. They can bring in talent under internship or fellowship program and to extend that. In these cases, we don't have that our criteria as far as how long the company's been incorporated or how many employees they have. We just want to make sure that the company has the bandwidth and the capacity to mentor these students and utilize the information that they generate to help commercialize their entities. Now, I will also say that in the case of the internship, if it's a PhD student, the 4 months can extend out to 2 years under the same scenario. Our fellowship program is for recent PhD grads, that is within 5 years, to work on industry-driven research and development projects. And these are 1 or 2 year programs, and it's essentially a one-to-one cash match in those cases as well. I will say for both the Smart Start, the Talent Edge, and our other programs, there's a lot of information available on our website, and you're willing and more than happy to reach out to me at any time to get further information or clarity on these programs and others. Brian, could I have the next slide, please? Mm-hmm. So just to recap a bit on what I was mentioning about the Talent Edge, the different streams. So for each 4 months now, it states here that we have final year undergraduate. We no longer have that capacity. It's just master's and PhD students. And they say minimum cash match at $5K cash, $5K in kind. We will provide 10K. And in the fellowship stream, it's minimum of 25 cash, 25 in kind from the company. We will provide 32,500. This is because we have some additional training that we'll provide that does not need to be matched by the company. Now the next slide, please. So one other program that we have, this is a voucher program, is in the social innovation and field. And these are for companies, usually startup companies, smaller, maybe non-for-profits, that are looking to get additional training or need some assistance in the development of their product. And we have some specific vendors that can help them do that. What you would do is you would apply for the OCE program voucher, and it's a reimbursement-based application once you've been approved for this. So as you see here, this could be identifying new growth strategies, building out your customer base, information to help you raise capital, expand into new markets. That's what all of our different programs that we have available will help you do. If I can get up the next slide, please. So we do have a number, and the call is open right now for our OCE vouchers. Each voucher is focused at $3,000, and it will go directly to the social enterprise company. To our delivery organization. But what it ends up being is that it is a reimbursement-based program. So you'll spend it, then you will then give proof that you have utilized this voucher, and that we will reimburse you for those costs in those cases. So we do look to have the social entrepreneurs and enterprises working directly with the selected delivery organizations, of which we have a number, to then give you assistance in your business and services. Have the next slide, please. Mm-hmm. So as you can see, each enterprise will only have one voucher, and then we will then as I mentioned, the delivery organizations are on our website, as well as the application process has been open since August 29th of 2016. So please if you are thinking about or have a social enterprise, take a look at our website. And if you have any further questions on that, please feel free to reach out to me. And the next slide, please. Mm-hmm. So with that, those are our primary programs I wanted to discuss with you today. Mm-hmm. If you have any questions at all, please let me know. I'd be happy to answer them. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Brad, for doing this for us today. Now, one of the questions I would have right now is, can you give everybody the differentiation for the differences between the RIC and the CLAs?
Certainly. So the CLA is specifically associated with a college or a university. They're on the campus. They're funded by OCE as well as additional funding from the university or college usually, and they're to develop technologies that are coming out of that college or university, either developed by faculty members, students, things of that nature. Some of them have funding available, some don't. It really depends on how they're structured. Mm-hmm. In the case of a regional innovation center, they're not associated directly with the university. They're located in a region, whether it be in Toronto, Markham, things of that nature, and they are set up for those companies that need the similar assistance, but are not coming out of a college or a university in that case. So something that an individual has decided to develop on their own, ideas, or maybe they've licensed something in, but really still need that support services.
Oh, fantastic. Now, with your experience and stuff and what you've seen in the startup scene right now, what are the biggest advantages, or if you're talking about social innovation, what kind of companies would fit within that model?
Are you saying within the social innovation or benefit from the RICs and the CLAs?
Right now, we'll jump into the social innovation. So can you describe a little bit more about what social innovation companies really are? And
oh, sure. So those companies that are helping they've identified a need in society. Maybe there's some groups that are underserviced, or there's some other maybe there's some education that's needed, there's some benefits, and it may be that it's not only here in Ontario, but there's other places in the world where first world versus third world benefits. Usually it's helping to overall improve the social network in the area, the quality of life for those individuals.
Okay.
And that those are probably the areas that are most affected.
Okay. I'm just going to unmute the lines right now. If anybody has anything to say, feel free to voice your concerns. I do say try to do it one at a time, but I'll unmute the lines right now. So the lines are open if anyone wants to ask Brad a question. Hello, anybody there? Okay, nobody's raising the flag or saying anything right now. One of the questions I would have right now is, what's the, you mentioned, is it the Smart Start that's coming up right now that people can start registering for?
That's right. So it's coming up, the deadline is coming up in October. And so what you can apply for those, and you need to look through, you apply directly through the website. If you'd like assistance, and I do find that it's very beneficial for them and for companies to, business development managers can work with the companies to help them refine their draft. So if you'd like to reach out to myself, I can give you assistance on your application and give you some guidance on that. So the application right now, the most recent deadline is October 5th for the initiation. It has to be initiated 1 week before the deadline. The deadline is October 12th.
Okay. Now, the one thing you got to make sure, so again, the best use of the OCE programs right now is really for a startup. Let's say if I decided to start a company, is to really get yourself involved first with a RIC or a CLA, and then from there, once our product is, or we've met with somebody and identified the need, we have something, then we're able to apply to your programs, correct?
That's correct. Yeah. So you really need to say, okay, I've got a good idea. I want to develop it out. Maybe in the process of incorporating. Then, as you mentioned, get in touch, apply to a RIC or a CLA, get accepted there, work with them for 4 months, and then the door starts opening up for our process, our applications.
Oh, perfect. What would the one piece of advice you would have for anybody that's looking to create their startup or looking for funding? What are the few pieces of advice you would have for them?
Really, I'd say the first thing is really investigate the market. Is there a market pull for your product? A lot of times we find that, there's a lot of great ideas out there, but when you start to vet them and look at it, you say, gee, either there's not as large of a market as I thought it was going to be. That doesn't mean that it's not a good idea. You might want to pivot and look at other markets. Two is it may be more competitive than you think it is. So it's really looking to see what it is, how much money you're going to realistically need to get it on the market, and then looking for additional advice through the RICs and the CLAs, for instance, as far as business advisory services. Listen to a lot of different people, talk to some individuals who've been there, done that type of scenario. So it's and once you've done that, you'll be in a better position to both look for investor funding as well as the government type funding that OCE has and other ones as well. Perfect.
Now, let's say we're looking for funding. What would the piece of advice you would have for them as what are the questions should they be ready to answer if they're looking for funding?
Well, there too, that's I think it comes right down to what is the product, what's the competitiveness of the product, how is it, how close to the market is it, how are you going to once you're ready to sell, how are you going to do that, how are you going to reach your customers, and what does that customer base look like? Is it only the early adopters that want it? Is it a unique space, or can you really expand it into a large number of individuals? So these are the types of things that to get, you'll want to say, okay, what's the road going to look like to secure that first customer? How much, and what type of regulations too. Some products are more heavily laden with regulatory requirements than others. I wouldn't have that be a determining factor, but it's really important to know what you need to do in order to get it on the market. There's one thing, and the other is to look at which markets are most appropriate for your product. Canada might not be, and things of that nature. How are you going to manufacture it? What's the scale? Things of that nature. So all different pieces from concept to that first customer. Perfect.
Now, with all that being said, we went through this pretty quick, so I definitely want to say thank you so much for your time, Bradford, today. And I definitely want to let everybody know that, StartupTech Unleashed is here to help support you. We're here to try to put you in contact with people to get your questions answered. The only way we can do what we do is by getting your feedback. For attending our events, let us know what you're looking for. If you are an early stage startup and you want to promote your product or your services, let us know. We're more than happy to bring you on board to basically present at our next meetup as well. So we do meetups, we do webinars. We're in the process to launch our VIP dinners and so much more. We're located in Toronto, Waterloo, and now Buffalo, New York. So with that being said, I want to thank you so much again, Bradford, for your time. And I want to thank everybody for attending today. I want to wish you all a very great week. All right, take care. Bye now.
Take care. Thank you.